And he was generous. He would just say, yes. He was generous with compliments even to other musicians. And if there are musicians out there, you know that we musicians aren't always complimentary towards our fellow musicians. And he was generous enough, he was confident enough so that he would do that. We instantly became friends. We were sort of the person most like the other that we knew. We both liked to walk around in striped shirts. We both walked around in Beatle boots. He would write the Tom McCain Shoe Company when they stopped making Beatle boots. And he would locate the distributors all over the country and buy up old boxes of them. So I liked Beatle boots. A.N.D.Y couldn't do without them. But we both thought the other was hilarious, and better still, we both thought that we ourselves were hilarious. We thought we were so funny. But I said how generous A.N.D.Y was. Does that mean he was not capable of an occasional snide remark? Not entirely. In fact, we would walk down the street parodying all the groups who jammed too much and looked down at their shoes too much, and we would think up names for the bands other than the ones that they thought up for themselves. Ours might not have been quite as flattering. We might have imagined material that they might perform. I wish I had written this stuff down. We imagined groups with names like Harvest, you know, and their exciting single desk or something like that. Yeah, we were a snide little bunch, and A.N.D.Y was the diplomatic one. I was the more crusty little, I don't like this, I don't like that. A.N.D.Y didn't like it either, but he would be nicer about it. And we were there, but he was your buddy. If I needed someone to move furniture, he was up there 8 o'clock in the morning, I needed someone to help me move a refrigerator or something. He'd be there on time and ready to work. He wasn't just a glamour boy. But he was a glamour boy. We'd be walking down the street together. And I'd notice, hey, how come they're looking at my friend more than they're looking at me? Hey. Could that rivalry be partly responsible for me stealing his apartment from under him? Because we were friends, but we were rivals. He started his band first, and I learned them. They were a good band called Catfish Black. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to put together, we were 19, I knew I wanted to put together a band, but I didn't know quite what I was about yet, and I would study his band. In fact, my band's, The Modern Lovers, our first show was opening, and he said, come on, open for us. We're playing a women's college outside of Kenmore Square, by the old Sears building, by Longwood Ave. Yeah, that's right. So we were friends, and rivals, and someone of us would borrow the other person's amplifier in the other band without asking. Then the other person in the first band would just go up and unplug it. The other person would just shrug and plug in his guitar into someone other amplifier. We were just like that with each other. We all lived in the same apartment building mostly, except for when I stole A.N.D.Y's apartment out from under him. You what? Yeah, well you see, A.N.D.Y wasn't paying the rent there down at Hamilton Street, at 207 Hamilton Street, which was down by Memorial Drive, by the BU Bridge. Yeah. Okay, sort of near Central Square. Yeah. And I got wind of it, and I was all high and mighty and stuff, and I'm disciplined, I work hard and stuff, and I was all self-righteous and things. So I walked over, and I needed a place to live. I just moved back from New York. Me and A.N.D.Y met when we were about 17. I hung around in New York for about a year when I was 18 and decided to move back to Boston and put together my band. So I walk over to the landlord, a young guy who's got this old house, and I said, I hear A.N.D.Y isn't paying your rent. So a week later, Andy and I are walking down the street together. He goes, "Oh, bummer, man, I gotta get out of my apartment." I go, "Well, yeah, I got you kicked out." "You what? Jonathan, what'd you do that for?" Like, "Well, were you gonna pay him any rent?" "No. I figured I'd pay him." He goes, "Yeah, but even so." And that was the end of it. We just kept making fun of other groups, you know. Because Andy knew he was going to land on his feet. This is the point of the punchline is Andy was going to land on his feet. He knew it, I knew it, and he knew I knew it. So we both thought the other hilarious. Even that, after a week, that was just, "Jonathan, what are you doing?" But he didn't, it was like that. In fact, you know what? There wasn't even anything another week. That was it. And Andy could talk you. Andy, one of his talents, first of all, this was a natural drummer. You musicians who've played with him and have him do percussion, you know, his time was right there, right? Yeah. His time was fabulous. He could pick up guitar, he could pick up lots about piano. He was great with all kinds of things, and as we've heard from these songs, he was quite the lyricist, wasn't he? In my opinion. In my opinion, he was a really elegant lyricist for lots of different kinds of songs. And think of it. Also, how many people could do this? He was fascinated by the music of Brian Wilson and by the work of Phil Spector. He actually met them and got to talk his way there, and so that he could learn from them hands-on, personally from them. That's not a small talent. These people weren't necessarily the easiest people to get to know. You know? There was something about him. And of course, Andy could talk you into anything. Take the Harvard Boathouse show. The Modern Lovers, my band, around the summer of '72, did a real good show. It was a real good audience of the local Cambridge record executive, like disc jockeys. Perhaps Eddie Gortetsky was there, Max Anders was there. Charles Laguardia might have been there. Eddie, were you there that night?
No.
Now, why not? Did you have a good reason?
Yeah.
Good. So it happened to be a great night for my band. Andy took note, and there were all these people in the audience. So we've just and stuff like that. Before we even got off the stage, streaking across is my friend Andy, coming up, Jonathan. I go, "What, Andy?" He goes, "Like, I haven't even got my guitar." There was no stage. It was the Cambridge Boathouse where they kept all the canoes and kept all the oars and stuff, and people all around, big old wood floor. He's running up and goes, "Jonathan." I go, "What?" He goes, "Can I play? Can we borrow your equipment?" "You want it what? Like, you want it right now?" "Yeah, before the people leave. Quick. I go, "Let me talk to everybody." "Ernie, you're not going to believe this. Jerry, look. Andy wants to borrow all our, he wants to what? He wants to borrow our equipment right now. But it is hurry. Okay. Can we think of a good reason why not?" "Oh, well, I guess not." So he'd already cued the other band. I think they were called the Sidewinders by this point. And so he cued them. They all raced up and played. Young musicians, there's a moral to this story. You cannot race up to the headliner as people are leaving, race and put on your equipment, start playing, even if you're the young Elvis Presley, and expect them to stay. Because they're already thinking of going home. They're already thinking of whatever's going to be on home. The guy is looking at that woman in that certain way. He's already thinking that. The woman is already thinking, he's looking at me in that certain way. These things are were already happening. So don't do it. It didn't work for Andy even, and it won't work for you.